I recently hosted a live workshop with my friend Jeremiah Lancaster, who is the founding partner with me of the sales coaching business called hubermethod.com. We did a live workshop. We had over 400 people live in a Zoom room where we discussed sales, how to close, how to gain trust, our 6-step method. And it was a really great webinar. I hope you enjoy. We're going to play it right here live for you. And if you want to reach out to Jeremiah, go to hubermethod.com. Thanks for listening. Now, Jeremiah, you were doing for this last point, I want you to tell the story that you were doing. We don't want to say the name of the company, but you were working with one of our reps and you were watching game tape, as we like to call it. And you were listening to his calls while he was talking to clients. And these clients were eager to buy, but something just didn't quite happen on these calls.
Yeah, so we had really interesting engagement, right? And the people were saying, this is a good fit for me.
I need this. I want this.
I need this. I want this. I'm interested in moving forward. And the typical response was like, okay, great. I'll send you a proposal or I'll follow up with you. And we'll try to schedule maybe some next steps or letting the person really kind of dictate the momentum and what's actually going to happen here. But instead, we need to start asking for the business. Great. Based on our conversation today, we know that this is going to solve X, Y, and Z. Sorry, I'm not trying to reveal the company or
no. This is
that it does. Yeah.
I'm smiling because it seems so obvious, but it's not natural. It's not naturally comfortable for a salesperson to do. It's actually very hard to do, but it seems so obvious.
We summarize all the reasons why they just self-qualify, that they said, this is a good fit for me. Here's the things that it's going to help me accomplish. Are you ready to move forward today?
If I send you a link right now, are you ready to pay for this and become one of our customers?
And then you just sit there. And then you have to let them answer and say yes. And in this case, right, like what started to happen was this kind of like, increase in the amount of volume of close one deals simply by starting to ask for the business. And I think that oftentimes it's literally just one small tweak to the sales process. And this is why, sales is life. And as we look at these different engagements that we have, by simply changing the types of questions that we're asking, or adding a question at the end of a call, what we start to see is that close one deals in this case increased over 150% from the prior months. And so at this chart, you're looking at close lost, losing a bunch of deals, literally not converting one deal in this case, not asking for the business. We made a shift. That shift started really slow, 4 deals. Next month went up to 9 deals. Subsequently, then we had 14. And then last month was the best month that the company did ever. And that simply started by 1, adding a little confidence, and 2, asking for the business.
I want you to elaborate a little bit more on the confidence, because that was the other half of the problem here with this particular thing. But we have a really good question. It seems like this would be great for inbound leads. And this person's right, like flipping the script, trying to talk somebody out of something. That's really good when you're having an inbound lead of somebody you've already pre-qualified. They already know they want to invest with you. They already like you. And it's, a very warmed lead, which a lot of people are used to dealing with, maybe from referrals or an inbound person on a website. How would you script this for outbound leads, cold calling? And my strategy is a little bit different there in that I have what's called the 8-second rule. The 8-second rule is that in the first 8 seconds, I'm trying to prove that I am worth talking to in some way. Because so many of these cold calls, cold emails, and this could be the first 8 words of a cold email that you're sending, right? You are literally spending this 8 seconds trying to prove that you're worth talking to. That's me cold calling self-storage owners, okay? I'm calling somebody who owns a self-storage facility. They don't want to talk to me. They know I want something from them. And I'm trying to convince them to sell their property to me. I'm trying to give them money. And sometimes when you're buying, you're selling. Actually, every single time you're buying, you're actually selling. So I'm calling this owner and I'm talking to them. The first 8 seconds, I know that I have to prove that I'm an expert before they'll trust me and they'll start to open up and they'll start to have a conversation. And I can do these things later, which is flip the script, qualify them, and so on. So that first 8 seconds, hey, my name is Nick Huber. I'm with Bolt Storage and I own 63 self-storage facilities and 1.9 million square feet. And I actually already said this, 10 properties in your state that we've acquired in the last year. We're buying aggressively. I would love to have a conversation with you just to let you know the value of your property. You can, see if you're potentially interested in selling. Okay, boom. What I did right then is I dropped a hammer that I'm different, I'm worth talking to. Now, early on, you really got to get creative because sometimes you're not worth talking to. Sometimes you don't have a lot of self-storage facilities. Sometimes you don't have things to brag on, but you can always get creative and think of some way to differentiate yourself and beat down those hurdles. Then you start moving through the rest of the Huber method, which is qualifying them, building trust, talking about the negatives, and then dropping that hammer, which might be, hey, I know interest rates are high. Maybe values aren't where they were in 2021, but what makes you think that right now is a good time to sell your self-storage facility? And then I'm shutting up and they're doing their thing.
I think you touched on something really interesting to make this actionable. In those first 8 seconds, Nick did something really important. He told them who they are, who he is, right? Why is he calling? Like, why am I even lifting up the phone and calling you? And then he's telling the person on the other side of the line, like, what's in it for you? Like, why should you listen to the rest of this? Because at the end of the day, if we don't capture their attention in those first 8 seconds, what's going to happen is someone's just going to go, click, this is a sales call. This feels desperate. Yep. I don't understand how or why I should even talk to this guy, Nick, on the other side of the phone. I think the other thing, Nick, that you touched on that's really interesting is that sometimes we don't have 63 self-storage facilities. We haven't bought 10 properties, in your state in the last couple of years. And I think one of the things that I constantly have, and this goes back to that confidence issue, is that you need to be confident about your ability to be an expert on your product. And the thing
this is so important because literally we're starting a business from scratch. You were doing a coaching call with a business that was brand new here. So they couldn't say they have 60 clients. They couldn't say they manage all this ad spend, performance marketing in this case. So where you're going with this is absolutely perfect. And I think if you're watching, listen up, because if you're in the early stages of sales, confidence is one of the most important things.
So you need to have confidence that you are an expert in your product and what you're selling. And even though you haven't sold hundreds of clients before, there's a reason why you have that seat today. And that seat's important. And that seat should be a position of expertise, but also knowing that you're going to actually make a meaningful impact on that person's business. And
I remember you called me, Jeremiah, and you're like, the sales confidence here is at an all-time low. It's almost pitiful. Like they're just not sure. And you're like, I'm going to build this guy up. I'm going to make him think that he is a really good salesperson. I'm going to make him, start to realize that he's an expert. And when you started doing that, it compounded and this one loss just exploded.
Yeah. So if you have a self-limiting belief that my product is not good enough or I'm not good enough to talk to that person, the other person will feel it. And you have to tell yourself, and you got to hype yourself up that I am a great sales professional. I do have something of value and I'm an expert inside of my product. And it's also okay to say, I may not know self-storage in Indiana, like you do, like you've been operating here. But what I do know is that we can do X, Y, and Z. And you can start to talk about selling those digital marketing services or selling your home cleaning business or whatever that thing may be as an expert or as a position of expertise, and tell them why your offering is better than someone else, the reason why you started that business and the reason why you're in that seat today. But it always starts from that mindset change of those self-limiting beliefs that this product isn't valuable, I'm not valuable, this person is not going to have a conversation with me. And the second you do that, someone can smell it and feel it.
And I think it goes back to step one of the Huber method, which is, operate from a point of leverage. You could need a deal. You could have to have a deal to save your company. But you have to walk in that thing understanding that if I can walk out of here. If I have to, I can walk out of here. I can fire this customer. I don't have to have this. I do not have to have this. And then you're just kind of building on that point that you're operating from a point of leverage and they can sense it. It's really, sales is kind of an emotional thing where they can sense confidence. They can, they can sense this trust that you gain by, talking about the negatives, and they can really sense if you don't actually need them as a client. And if you start operating like you have to have them, like you're willing to talk about concessions and discounts already, and I want to hear Jeremiah's spiel on discounts. But if you start offering up those things and talking about it in a way at the beginning, they'll walk all over you, and 9 times out of 10, it won't be an actual profitable or healthy client relationship that you have.
Big news, guys. I created a free PDF that details my method on how I analyze a self-storage facility and figure out what it's worth. Give me a pen, the back of a napkin, and a couple metrics, and I can figure out about what the property is going to be worth to me. If you want to download this PDF, click in the show notes, the first link, and you can give me your email address and you get a email right away with 4-page PDF that outlines exactly how I think about underwriting or giving my initial analysis on a self-storage facility. Again, click the link in the show notes and you're going to get that document for free. This episode of the Nick Huber Show is brought to you by RE Cost Seg. If you want to maximize your bonus depreciation and minimize your tax liability, make sure to do a cost segregation study on real estate you've recently acquired. RE Cost Seg offers the lowest priced, fully engineered studies in the business, and you get a virtual site visit with a quick turnaround. They did 30 plus cost seg studies for me over the past year, including a short-term rental, along with my self-storage facilities. And I'm also an investor in the business, along with my good friend and CPA, Mitchell Baldridge, who you all know. To learn more about how bonus depreciation works, listen to episode 75 of The Nick Huber Show, or visit recostseg.com to go ahead and get a free proposal that outlines the cost of the study and your potential savings. Thanks again, recostseg.com.